So welcome everyone to our last event of the Liberal Arts Career Week. It's been a wonderful week and I see some familiar names. So I appreciate those of you who have been able to attend multiple events today and through the week. Everything has been recorded except for one event on Monday, and they will all appear on the YouTube channel for the Career Enrichment Network on early next week, most likely. You can find that on the College of the Liberal Arts YouTube channel within that page. We will be, as I mentioned, recording today and talking about the Department of Labor and the overview of working for the federal government, a day in the life. So we're looking forward to that. Please make sure to be using the Q&A to put your questions in. It's helpful for us to monitor and then move on to the next one and organize that information if you're using the Q&A. So we appreciate that. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Terri Thomas. Terri is Associate Administrator for Administrative Operations for the Department of Labor's Wage and Hour Division. She's also a very proud alumna of Penn State and was very excited to come back, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate everything you'll share with us today, Terri. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Katie. As Katie said, I'm a proud Nittany Lion, and happy to take you through what the Labor Department does. I've been working for the Labor Department since shortly after graduation in the mid-'80s, and graduated from Penn State with a degree in labor studies, which is now within the School of Labor and Employment Relations, and still work with the board there. But just wanted the Labor Department is, you may ask why you would want to work here. We would say that you have an opportunity to touch the lives of nearly everyone living and working in the United States. The Labor Department affects basically everybody through enforcing labor laws such as child labor laws, minimum wage, overtime laws, under the Fair Labor Standards Act. We enforce laws having to do with migrant workers, ensuring that they are properly compensated and cared and have proper working conditions. Private sector pension plans, 401k plans, and healthcare plans are also regulated by the Labor Department and provide some very interesting work. Workplace safety and health is also a huge mission of the Labor Department through OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and the Mine Safety and Health Administration. But in addition to workplace law enforcement, the Labor Department also has a lot of programs having to do with job training through Job Corps and apprenticeship programs that are implemented by the Employment and Training Administration. They also oversee grants having to do with unemployment insurance. The federal government, you may or may not be aware, is one of the largest employers in the country, if not the largest employer in the country. And in addition to the mission of the Labor Department and needing excellent workers to carry out our mission, we are also in need of human resources professionals to manage the workforce of approximately 14,000 employees nationwide with the Labor Department. So there are those opportunities. We have the same corporate needs, corporate support needs as any corporation. We need IT folks, we need financial management, we need human resources, all sorts of operations support for all the mission agencies. And DOL is also leveraging the same workplace flexibilities as corporate America. We have flexible time bands, remote work, telework, and world-class pension and healthcare benefits that and to make employment here very attractive. it's some of the most interesting work that you've probably never heard of. And I have several colleagues here from across the Labor Department to talk about their missions and the job opportunities coming up in their agency, including the Wage and Hour Division, which I'm happily a part of now. And I'm going to turn this over now to Ruben Rosales, our Regional Administrator in the Wage and Hour Division for the Western Region. He is an alumna of the University of the Pacific. Ruben, you ready to go?
Yeah, are we going to do the video first? Is that the plan, to do the video first? Yeah.
I think so. There we go.
Okay, all right. No sound?
Is the sound not working?
We are hiring sharp,
It just
intellectual,
started, Nick.
self-starters in a variety of careers. We investigate compliance with labor laws on pay, hours, and leave. We educate workers and employers on their rights and responsibilities. We help businesses compete on a level playing field. Are you up for the challenge? Explore the best job you never knew existed. Apply to join our team today.
All right, thank you. Hello, my name is Ruben Rosales. I am the Regional Administrator for the Western Region, so all the states west of Idaho are my states. And I supervise about 200 plus employees in the Western Region, and most of them are investigators. And I kind of wanted to walk you through a little bit what our agency does. We are an investigative agency. Terri mentioned early in her speech about the working with farm workers and getting people their right wages and getting paid properly. Also some working conditions and possibly benefits. Those are the types of things that we investigate in the workplace. And as you can see from my little bullet points here, you can see we basically have investigators that are out there working on their own. We have investigators that have their own caseload, but we also have such big cases that we have to pull teams together and work on those as well. But the type of work that we do will draw you into all kinds of different businesses. As I mentioned, you might be on a farm one day working in the fields, or the next day you might be in a Fortune 500 company. They're investigating a big firm, nationwide firm with a brand name. It depends on the issue and the type of things that we're involved in. And the work takes us into different places throughout the country as well. You may have to do some travel. We travel in different places in my region. People travel within the region quite a bit, especially if you're in a particular state that's really broad. And also my territory also includes the Pacific Islands, Hawaii, Guam, Saipan, and American Samoa. So we have to send people out there too. So it's exciting to be part of our agency because the work is varied every day, but also where you go and the type of work that you do is varied. We give you all the tools that you need to work as an investigator, as you can see from the bullet point, the computer, iPhones, government vehicles, etc. But the thing is that we want you to succeed and we want you to have everything you need to work. And we want to make sure that you're equipped to do so. A lot of our investigators come from us right out of college. Not all of them, but a lot do. So I encourage you to think about this as a career because it's really important that you understand that this is something that you can do right out of college. I started right out of college. I was 22 years old. I've been with the agency now 34 years, and I started as an investigator. So this is something you can do right out of college. Next slide, please. So these are the types of positions that we usually hire off the street, people that are from outside that aren't working for the government just yet, people right out of college. Wage hour investigators, as I just described what that job is like. We have technicians. Technicians sort of help the investigators. They're the support to help the investigators in the office. And sometimes they go to the field with the investigators as well. But they're kind of like the face of the agency when you walk into the office. They help folks with their complaints and answer their questions. And they're really like the first person you meet when you come to our offices. We have back wage specialists. Those back wage specialists are very important because a lot of our cases wind up having people be paid back. And when they're owed money back, they have to be made whole. We have to find a way to do that. And so a lot of our back wage specialists are finding people, getting them paid, getting checks in their hands. And that's a really rewarding position. Our wage hour assistants help us run our offices. As Terry mentioned, we have all the types of positions that it takes to run a big corporation. So we have people that help run our offices as well, whether it's the IT issues or just operational issues, human resource issues. We have those individuals that work for us as well. And those are our wage hour assistants. Next slide, please. So this year, this is what's real important here for you to catch on to, is that we're going to be hiring 100 investigators that are going to happen this first phase. And I say February 2022 is really the target to have those announcements come out, and Terry will know more than I do, but I think they might hit the street either next week or the next. You'll see in USA Jobs, and I know you just came out of the session with USA Jobs. These announcements will be on that site, and we're going to have 100 of them nationwide, all over the country. Major cities all over the country have been identified, and some rural areas, some very small towns have also been identified of where we need folks. And I also know that budget permitting, we want to do more hiring for the rest of the year. So we want to go as high, well, I want to put the number up as over 200 that we want to get to by the end of the fiscal year, which is September. So if the budget works out for us, we're going to continue our hiring. We're definitely starting off with this first 100. As I mentioned, locations all over the country. One last thing is, if you have a second language, you have an added advantage. And if you are a student that has a second language, whether it's your primary language when you were growing up or you studied this language, it doesn't matter. As long as you have that language skill, we need you. I listed just a couple that we heavily recruit for: Spanish, Tagalog, Mandarin, Cantonese. In my region this year, we're looking at Vietnamese, we're looking at Punjabi, we're looking at Russian. So there's a lot of different languages that are needed throughout the country because the workforce is varied. And one thing with the Department of Labor and with Wage and Hour, we want to reflect the communities that we serve. So we definitely want you to apply, and we want you to help us because we want to do the work that is best for the American workforce. And as a wage hour investigator, I guarantee you it's a very gratifying job. Like I said, 34 years ago, I started at 22 years old, and I never looked back. So I encourage you to want to apply, and please look in the next couple of weeks. These jobs that are listed here will be hitting the streets. I think that's it for me.
Great, thank you, Ruben. As always, a great representative of Wage Hour. And now I'm going to turn it over to Joey Havner, who is a workforce analyst with the Employment and Training Administration, to go over some of the other programs the Labor Department does that are not law enforcement related. They're more analysis, and I will let Joey go ahead and take that away. Joey is from the University of Maryland and was a Presidential Management Fellow, which is another program that you should look into.
Thank you, Terry. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joey Havner, and I'm a workforce analyst and presidential management fellow at the U.S. Department of Labor and Employment and Training Administration, as Terry mentioned. Thank you all for attending this session about opportunities to work and make an impact at the Department of Labor. I want to start with a question. How many of you know someone who has lost their job and utilized the public workforce system to get reemployed, or at any point in their career received on-the-job training, such as an apprenticeship? I know we can't interact and I can't see you all, but I hope you're thinking about it. You probably know someone. For me, the former is true, with job loss hitting very close to home in my family. That's why I find the mission and work of the Employment and Training Administration, or ETA, to be incredibly important as we serve 20+ million American workers, including people like my family members who have endured losing their job. For you, it may be a family member, a friend, or someone else that you know who experienced a job loss. Or maybe you know someone who's able to leverage an apprenticeship or other on-the-job training to propel their career forward. For all of us, the opportunity to work in a quality job, a job with a livable wage that has a career pathway and allows for essential benefits like paid family leave, vacation, and sick leave, working in that type of quality job is so essential. Working at ETA, I get the double benefit of enjoying a quality job while serving to help millions of American workers around the United States attain the same. Can we advance the slide, please? Before sharing briefly about my day-to-day work, I want to share how I landed at ETA. I've been working at ETA, in contrast to Ruben, for less than a year and had no previous government work experience. I share this to say that you don't need to have experience working in the government to make an impact and enjoy your work at DOL. I also benefited from an excellent pathway that Terry mentioned, an excellent pathway into the federal workforce called the Presidential Management Fellowship, or PMF. I was extended the opportunity to work for ETA for 2 years as a PMF, while also taking advantage of opportunities to rotate to different agencies within or beyond DOL for a detail. And I also get to receive focused mentorship and training to help me develop as a public servant in the federal government. At the conclusion of my 2-year fellowship, in line with the stated goal of the PMF program, I'm hopeful to convert to a permanent position at ETA as a civil servant. I believe most in the audience today are undergraduate students, so I will mention that this fellowship program does require a graduate degree. However, I highly recommend the PMF program to anyone interested in public service, so please keep it on your radar if graduate school is in your future. I am sincerely grateful to be a fellow at the Department of Labor and ETA. My role is a workforce analyst, as mentioned earlier, in the office of the Assistant Secretary in ETA. I have the privilege of working closely with agency leadership, including the Assistant Secretary, Chief of Staff, Senior Policy Advisors, and Program and Regional Administrators who lead our programs. Most of my work involves project management and communications on a wide array of external and internal initiatives. I've helped manage projects relating to advancing equity through ETA's grant making, compiled and drafted talking points for departmental and agency leadership, and supported engagement with external stakeholders in the public and private sector. Through all my work, what gets me most excited is ETA's impact. We serve over 2 million American workers while also helping employers hire workers into quality jobs. We do all this in a pivotal moment in our nation's history in which we have the opportunity to build back better from the pandemic and advance equity among under-resourced communities and individuals who've been left behind for far too long. Working at ETA is an opportunity to plug into this crucial mission. And on this slide, you can see a tangible example of ETA's impact. A woman named Erica who graduated from an advanced manufacturing apprenticeship program despite significant obstacles in her personal life and barriers to employment. After completing her apprenticeship, she landed a good paying job as a technician. Next slide, please. In your career at ETA, you can serve opportunity youth making a better future for themselves, like the Job Corps students you see on this slide, learning in-demand job skills at one of ETA's 121 Job Corps centers around the country. Across ETA's programs, you can serve and have an impact on all kinds of people: opportunity youth, unemployed individuals, migrant workers, guest workers, high school graduates, community college students, and many others. You can see listed here the diverse programs that ETA manages, some of which have been mentioned already. Our Office of Workforce Investment oversees the nation's workforce system, including over 2,000 American job centers around the country that millions of Americans walk into each year. This office also manages discretionary grant programs that advance cutting-edge workforce development models. The unemployment insurance system is a safety net that we all know is critical to millions of people during the pandemic and remains essential to people as our nation recovers, and always as people can experience job loss at any moment, not just during recessions and disasters. In addition to apprenticeship and Job Corps programs, which we've already discussed, ETA works in partnership with the Departments of State and Homeland Security and DOL's Wage and Hour Division to manage foreign labor certification for guest workers. Finally, our Trade Adjustment Assistance Program provides adversely affected workers with opportunities to obtain the training, credentials, resources, and support necessary to build and rebuild skills for future jobs. At ETA, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility, or DEIA, is a lens through which we view and shape all the work that we do. As we develop and implement programs, we seek to advance equity and effectively serve those who have been underserved in our communities. So how can you make an impact at ETA through one of these programs? We need people with all kinds of background, interests, and skill sets. If you want to write policy or manage programs, if you're a financial person with a strong business acumen, if you want to manage ETA's grant portfolio or strengthen key administrative processes in the agency, there is a way you can make an impact at ETA serving millions of American workers. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope you'll consider joining us at ETA.
Thank you, Joey. Our next presenter is Nicole Barberino, who is with the Office of Human Resources. As I mentioned before, DOL is a large organization that needs all of the operations support that any large corporation would need. One of the most critical positions or critical work that actually the whole federal government has a deficit in particular skills, and that is in the human resources area, where we need more human resources professionals to help manage this large workforce. Nicole hails from the University of Southern California and is a human resources specialist with the Department of Labor.
Thank you, Terry. Nick, could you switch the slide? Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Barbarino, and I started as an HR specialist with the Department of Labor in December 2021. I recently also celebrated 8 years of public service. And like some of you, I worked while pursuing my education. I was a cashier, I was a barista, and right before I started working for the government, I was working at Lowe's Home Improvement. And while cutting tile and mixing paint are fun and valuable skills, they weren't necessarily what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I have found that conversations around governance and politics are often jaded and filled with jargon that discourages and intimidates those unfamiliar. In a system that is for the people, by the people, I found this to be unacceptable. So one night I took a chance and applied for a paid student opportunity with the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. What felt like a long shot is actually how I got my start in public service. Years later, I was still working for the board, but under a different official, and I managed and built our student programs. I was at a recruitment event and I met a recruiter for USCIS. Yes, that is the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service. Yes, it's an acronym. And yes, the federal government has a lot of them, but all you need is a pen and a piece of paper and you'll get through. Him and I got to talking and he mentioned when I finished grad school, I should look into a recent graduate appointment. I kept his card with a note about the type of appointment and went on my way. Years later, I'd finished grad school and was back on the job market, and I found his card. I began searching for a recent graduate opportunity. I'm happy to report that search was successful, and I found a job as a management analyst with USDA Animal Care in June 2020. You'll notice that we aren't making reference to jobs. We're making reference to your career because that is what joining public service is. It's a lifetime commitment to your professional journey. There is no right experience to join the federal service. Regardless of your interests, passions, and skills, you can find a fulfilling career in public service. At DOL, we believe our past experiences and our passions make us better citizens and better employees. This becomes incredibly important and apparent when collaborating with your peers across organizational boundaries. We are able to come up with new solutions to age-old problems. And speaking personally, I've been able to take all of my past experience and bring it with me to federal service. While working for a member of Congress, I was able to learn how to work across party lines to better our communities. Working at the city of Glendale taught me how to build a macro in Excel. And working at Starbucks taught me repeatable routine, which helps me write SOPs. Everyone in this room is an intelligent and capable adult and capable of learning a job and being successful at it. But there's more to having satisfaction in your career than the simple completion of tasks. That is why I joined DOL. At the Department of Labor, I have found a culture that is supportive of my development and has helped me build a trajectory for the next phase of my career. As a management analyst at APHIS, I was able to expand my skill set and find the work that I'm good at and passionate about. I was fortunate enough to find this role at the Department of Labor that allows me to engage with my customers directly, to engage in some project-based work, and collaborate across different teams. Most importantly, my daily activities support one of the nation's most widely and impactful missions. I have the privilege of serving our nation's workforce every day by ensuring that DOL employees have the necessary resources and are engaged. Their productivity increases. By going the extra mile for DOL employees, they have the resources and the drive to push a little bit further for the American workforce. Beyond being able to contribute to our mission in a meaningful and tangible way, I chose to work for DOL because this is an agency that walks the walk. Employees are set up for success and opportunities for growth and development abound. Supervisors are incredibly supportive of their employees, not only getting them the resources to get the job done, but to take them to the next stage of their career. DOL accomplishes this through the use of individual development plans, training, and the annual performance cycle. In general, in federal service and at Department of Labor, You are able to visualize your career path and build actionable plans to get to that next stage. Additionally, you're not going to need a TikTok video on how to negotiate a salary. Your starting wage and your future earnings are transparent. When you begin applying for a job, the salary information is available on USA Jobs, and as your career progresses, using the corresponding pay tables, you can track your future earnings. Additionally, the Department of Labor values its employees. It provides a wide array of workplace flexibilities and resources. For example, I am currently based in sunny Los Angeles, California. The rest of my team is in Germany, the DC area, and Chicago. You wouldn't know it by how well we work together and how much we're able to get accomplished. A few examples of additional resources include, but aren't limited to, if you're a parent and you need help with last-minute childcare, financial literacy seminars, green transportation initiatives, health and wellness courses, and a robust awards and recognition program. DOL emphasizes a diverse and inclusive workplace as well. There are a number of affinity groups, which are employee-led groups that share a common interest with the goal of strengthening diversity, improving personal and professional development, and strengthening networking. Additionally, there are several thriving special emphasis programs. In short, the Department of Labor is a wonderful place to work. Your work touches the lives of millions of Americans. Your peers are incredibly smart and passionate individuals, and you're able to achieve the work-life balance that best suits your needs. It has been an honor to be here today and to speak to you about the Department of Labor and the career I'm building for myself in federal service. I hope that as you begin your career search, you consider public service, and more specifically, the Department of Labor. We would be happy to have you.
Thank you, Nicole, for articulating all the, in addition to mission, all the great benefits for working for the federal government, for DOL in particular. Having been with the DOL for so long, I can testify to the veracity of the benefits. Our next speaker is Leah Johnson. She's an industrial hygienist. She is a Texas A&M graduate, and she is here representing the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Leah?
I'm sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. So yes, good afternoon, y'all. I'm an industrial hygienist for the OSHA agency within the Department of Labor. We are responsible for assessing, evaluating, and investigating health and safety hazards at the workplace to ensure employers are providing a safe and healthy work environment for their employees according to our legal standards. And we accomplish this through enforcement. So what does enforcement look like? Well, that depends. There are different activities, two types. You have program activity, which is scheduled inspections based on national, regional, and local emphasis. So an example of a national emphasis we have right now would be COVID-19. But then there's unprogrammed activity, and that's your complaints, your employer reported injuries, hospitalizations, and unfortunately fatalities. So for the purpose of my presentation, I'm going to stick to complaints because that's the majority of the enforcement work that I've been a part of. So there's 3 levels. You have hazard notification letter, and I would reach out to the employer, let them know about the complaint, and within this letter, there will be resources for to encourage the employer to improve the workplace. This typically happens when we don't necessarily have a standard that fits that complaint. But when we do, we move on to non-formal written response letter. This is not encouraging the employer. Now we're requiring, we're stepping into requirements. So I would reach out to the employer, let them know the alleged hazards, and then require them to respond back to us within a time frame as well as provide us a timeline of correction. And sometimes if they don't respond back to us, or the area director, which is my boss, who I'm directly under, if he feels or she feels like the response isn't adequate, then it gets bumped up to an inspection. So it's a little process. And of course, we get those complaints where the area director looks over the hazard description and automatically that complaint gets put to a sign for inspection. So what does it look like for me as an industrial hygienist to conduct a health inspection for OSHA? So first, I have to learn about the potential hazards in the workplace. And I do this prior to stepping foot on site. I look at the complaint, the hazard description. That can tell me a lot about what could possibly go on site. I also take a look at what industry the company is in. I can kind of assume what I may be walking into. That's like logging. Well, I know I need to wear my steel toe boots. I need to wear a hard hat, etc. And then I also look at prior OSHA history. What has this company been cited before? And that also gives me an indication of what to look for. Then I arrive on site and I open the inspection and I have a conversation with the employer. And we discuss the complaint items, see what they know, anything about it. Oftentimes, the employers are pretty good and they're already investigating it. So they can tell me some details. I also get to learn about what's going on in the workplace, their processes. What are they building? What are they fixing? What are they making? What machines they're using? All of this to, again, understand the potential hazards of the workplace. Then I do a walkthrough when I go out on the floor and I get to see with my eyes and ears, because noise is a hazard, what's going on. During my walkthrough, I conduct interviews, and this is really important because the employer likes to shift your focus into one direction, but talking to the employees, they're able to bring some insight to something that they may not have mentioned when you were talking to the employer. So after I gather all that information, I create a sampling plan. And the sampling plan is basically your where, your who, and your why. And I basically figure out what areas are the hazards, the potential hazards, the chemical exposures, the noise exposure, where I might want to cherry pick what employees I want to monitor. And I know OSHA kind of gets a bad rap, like we're like the big bad wolves. All we do is tell the employers what they do wrong. And of course, we discuss areas of concerns. That's our job. We are enforcement. But we also, I call them kudos. We also talk to the employer about what they're doing right and give them tips and tricks on how to improve on what the safety and health management plan that they already have. So I call them kudos. Next slide, please. So I wanted to carve out a little time to talk to you guys about the whys. You know, I'm not too far removed from where you guys are sitting. I went into OSHA straight out of grad school. And so I think it's important to talk about why did I, instead of going into private industry, why did I decide to work on the side of enforcement? And really simply put, the exposure and experience in various industries that I was going to get, I was not going to get that anywhere else but the Department of Labor. And like Terri mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, job training. As a young professional, it is important that I start my career at a place where I feel like the employer is investing in me professionally and want investing in my success. Most importantly, it's probably best to talk about why should you, you know? As far as OSHA, if you do not want to walk into the same office place or workplace, the same plant, the same manufacturing warehouse, OSHA's perfect for you. You never see the same thing every time you conduct an inspection. It's always going to be something different. If you fancy yourself a fact finder, if you're solution driven, if you have investigative skills, OSHA is a good place for you as well. Those are all the skills we need to do our job, to figure out what's going on, especially when we investigate those injuries, those hospitalizations, and unfortunately, those fatalities. And most importantly, if you want to have a direct impact in people's lives, I cannot tell you the number of times that I've opened inspection and got to the part where I'm conducting interviews confidentially, and it feels like the employee's weight, this burden, is lifted off their shoulder. For whatever reason, they did not feel comfortable voicing their concerns to their employer, but when they get to talk to me, they really let it out. And I think it's because they're confident and they know that I have the ability to make change. And that will be, that's it for my presentation.
Thank you, Leah. And our last presenters today are from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is also a non-enforcement portion of the Labor Department, and that you may have heard of. Everybody sits on the edge of their seats waiting for numbers to come out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And today we have two presenters, both of them Penn State grads, Melanie Santiago, who is a supervisory economist, and Dominic Toto, who is also an economist. Melanie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Terry. So good afternoon, everyone. I am Melanie Santiago from the Producer Price Index at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And I was first introduced to BLS data in my econ classes at Penn State, and to BLS Economist at a session very similar to this one, though it wasn't on Zoom. I moved to DC right after graduation, and I started at BLS as an economist here in the PPI. You may be more familiar with the CPI, which measures inflation from the perspective of consumers. In the PPI, we measure inflation from the perspective of domestic producers. This includes price indexes for each stage of the supply chain, from the sale of a farmer's wheat crop, the flour from the mill, the baked goods made in commercial bakeries, and the bread aisle at the local supermarket, plus the transportation and distribution services along the way. Basically, every step it takes to get the grilled stickies to your tailgate is in scope for the PPI. To produce these indexes each month, we analyze price data from our survey respondents, looking for outliers, investigating anomalies, and adjusting for changes in quality. Then we review the index data prior to publication, and we research industry trends to explain the short and long-term changes in prices. Recently, you may have noticed inflation has taken a much higher profile, making it a really exciting time for our office. When I joined the PPI, we had only recently started producing price indexes for the services sector. And as we grew, I got to design a new survey for golf courses. I researched how the golf course industry fit into the overall US economy, what services are provided, and what factors go into setting prices. Then I established our pricing methodology, designed our collection materials, and developed our sampling strategy. While I failed to convince my boss that a trip to some golf resorts in Hawaii was essential to fully understand the industry, I did get to visit several local courses and talk to the managers there to test our survey questions and get feedback on our approach. Currently, I oversee the monthly production and analysis of over 3,000 price indexes. And one of my main focuses is how we can leverage technology by using large data sets, data visualization, and data analytics to improve and expand our measures. We're evaluating a large data set right now that we might be able to use to create a new index to measure price change for colleges and universities. And we're developing a hedonic model to improve our quality adjustment methods in the cloud computing industry. Now, while the PPI focuses on domestic production, we collaborate frequently with colleagues from foreign statistical offices. We are active participants in a UN-sponsored Vorberg group on service statistics, whose mission is to establish and maintain an internationally comparable statistical methodology. I presented the US experience in measuring price change for publishing industries at our meeting in Paris in 2019. And I'm currently part of an international task force that is developing a framework for using consumer price indexes in PPI calculation. I love working at BLS, surrounded by people who value curiosity and learning and who are always striving to improve our products, knowledge, and skills. I hope some of you will join us, help us produce that gold standard data and analysis that is used by students, business leaders, and policymakers all over the country. Now, if we can move to the next slide, Dominic will tell you more about the statistics behind the BLS slogan, "We have a stat for that." Dominic?
Hey, Penn Staters. Thanks, Melanie. My name's Dominic Toto. I graduated from Penn State way back in 1988. I was an econ major. And sometimes for some of our data, we actually have an app for that as well. So if you have your phones handy, search BLS Local Data App. It's on my PowerPoint, but if you want to get a better view what that might look like, you don't have to download it. I just want you to know that it contains labor market information by county, by state, and even metro area. And one of the programs featured in that app is the Current Employment Statistics Survey. That's where I work. We survey about 7,000 business establishments each month. And from those, we are able to produce roughly about 24,000 data series on employment, hours, and earnings each month. So as Terri was alluding to, we get a lot of attention from Wall Street and Congress on a monthly basis as well. We share our news release with the unemployment rate. So you also see how many jobs were created over the month. So yes, with this survey comes some data analysis on the micro side and also on the macro estimates of employment side. And this is one of the first real opportunities for new hires to shine in terms of innovating, just getting some fresh blood in there, using computer programming to streamline and basically just improve processes. So I've seen a lot of that over the years. We use SAS for our programming, but we use a bunch of things. That's just one that's more popular in my office. So to serve our customers on that monthly basis, we do a lot of writing of news releases. We publish in the monthly labor review. We put out tables and maps, on web pages. So we've got a lot of web work involved that you can learn. Currently, we've got some exciting data visualization tools out there, like Tableau and High Charts are pretty popular at BLS. I can't leave out mapping software. So on any given day, I'm using SAS, I'm using ArcGIS. That's the mapping software that my division uses, and Tableau for the data visualization. I want to emphasize at this point that BLS will provide you with the technology and the training you need to not only help you with your new job, but to really advance your career. I've seen it over the years. It works. It's a system that really works. Over the years, I've branched out and have been able to work on my platform skills. I've been able to have the incredible opportunity to brief both sides of the Congressional Joint Economic Committee before hearings on the employment situation. More recently, I've been more involved with training, mentoring, teaching new hires. Done some consulting work. I was a consultant on our data app. So that was a lot of fun and rewarding to see that come to fruition a couple of years ago. In terms of more relevance, closer to home for me, my brother-in-law actually emailed me, not for the first time, a couple of weeks ago. He was working on a contract that included an escalation clause for some engineers at his workplace. So I was able to point him to another branch of BLS, another principal federal economic indicator, in addition to PPI, CPI, and the employment situation, the employment cost index for engineers. The last thing I really want to talk about is the quality of work life. I've enjoyed living and working in the DC area for close to 3 decades now. It's been a real pleasure and a real treat to work with some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, honestly. They're from all over the country, they're from all over the world, and that just really helps our mission in so many ways, keeps it interesting. And of course, we've got a local alumni DC Penn State chapter down here. So if you like to watch games with folks, that's a lot of fun. And DC is almost like Penn State South, if you want to know the truth. So it's been great for me. I can't think of a better place to start your career than at DOL or BLS, which is of course a part of DLL. I've been here 29 years, so I can't vouch any more than that. I'm not here as long as Ruben was, but I'm on my way to probably finishing here. And one more thing before I go. Next month, I hope all of you have a chance in some way, shape, or form to really rock that dance marathon. So very proud to see that every year. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dominic. Just in closing on this, I just wanted to make it clear that, and I think you probably, when you come in at the entry level, you see that, I've been around here a long time, Ruben's been around here a long time, Dominic has. There are so many opportunities for growth. Just coming in at the entry level and something that, you might not realize that you come in with an aptitude for analysis, for creativity. And that really is your passport into so many different areas within the labor department. You have the skills, you have, as a liberal arts major, you have that flexibility of mind and curiosity and analytical skill that you can bring into the training opportunities that you'll be provided. When you come into wage and hour, you're not expected to know all of the laws that we enforce. We'll teach those to you. The other enforcement programs do the same things. We all have training programs for the people that we bring on in order to develop the subject matter expertise to do your job. So that's a day in the life at the Labor Department. It's a pretty varied life and an interesting one, and I highly recommend it. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi, Terry. This is Kristen Siegfried. Thanks for your presentation. I volunteered to help monitor the questions and answers, and we do have a question in our chat box. The question comes from Marion. She says, I am currently pursuing my BS in economics, and I have some Python and JavaScript knowledge. She was wondering if BLS is offering internships in economics via remote, maybe locations or opportunities. So I was wondering if our colleagues from BLS could try and answer that question, because I have no idea what Python is. Thank you.
Python is definitely a skill that we are looking for actually at BLS. We're often looking for people to join us that have these computer programming skills. Dominique mentioned SAS. We have a lot of people also using R and Python. So these are things that we're constantly looking for. Unfortunately, I can't speak in detail right now about whether we have any internship availability right now. I can look into that though, if there's some way that we can pass that information along after, after the session is done. We're still fully remote. I mean, I'm in my basement right now. Most of us are working from home, and I know that we have brought on some internships while being remote as well. So I can look at what our current opportunities are. I think they get posted on USA Jobs. So if you went to the previous session, set up a saved search on USA Jobs with the type of posting you're looking for, internship, full-time. The information would be included in the announcement of whether it's telework eligible.
Hi, thanks. This is Kristen again. About the announcements, I do, before time ends, I do want to make mention to all those participating today that the Department of Labor does have an announcement open for student volunteer opportunities. As I mentioned, these are not paid opportunities by the Department of Labor, but students may get a grant or a stipend from, their college, their university, maybe an external group. So please check that announcement out. Tara posted the link to USA Jobs. The announcement is out on USA Jobs. It closes on February the 11th. So you have plenty of time, but don't wait till the last minute. Also, the link to the information concerning some of those vacancy announcements was in the slide deck from the previous session this morning. So I do know that BLS regularly hires for student interns. In fact, I think we're expecting more announcements. There's also some paid opportunity internships posted now for the Department of Labor. And in fact, our Deputy Secretary, Julie Sue, is participating in a work group with the Director of the Office of Personnel Management on a government-wide student internship program. So agencies right now, including the Department of Labor, are beginning to post a lot of those announcements now in anticipation for the summer break or when students graduate. BLS also has a extensive program where they hire recent graduates as well. So just want to throw that out there. We have another question from Elijah, who says, I am currently pursuing my BS in political science, and I was wondering what resources are there for those pursuing government jobs as, and then it says BIPOC. I'm not familiar with that acronym or shortened terminology. But as mentioned in the previous session, we had a bunch of resources, a lot of resources. Oh, thank you. I just wasn't familiar. There are a lot of resources on USA Jobs. Again, once you create your profile, you can search for opportunities, whether as a student, a graduate, all different occupations. We as a country need to be more representative of all the people we serve in the American public. So there are a lot of initiatives to help expand our reach to everyone, all students, all nationalities, all races, all populations. So there are a lot of initiatives now to get out there like we're doing today to reach students so that they can apply for occupations within our agency and also with other organizations. So I would encourage you to visit the USA Jobs website. They also have resources for all kinds of jobs fairs, hiring events. Sometimes we have hiring events for military spouses, veterans, people with disabilities, all kinds of groups and hiring events across the government. So USA Jobs is probably the best resource right now. I think there's a couple other questions. I'm going to try and get to those. Hi, my name is, and I'm going to thank you, Edward. I probably would have done a very big disservice to your name. I'm sorry about that. He is a senior graduating this semester with a degree in economics, a BS in economics. In fact, that's what my son hopes to achieve, I think, as well. He had already applied to the economic statistician position for recent graduates through USA Jobs for the Philadelphia branch. Can you tell me the difference between working in different branches within the DOL? And since this pertains specifically to BLS, I'm going to ask my BLS colleagues to talk maybe about the different parts of BLS and maybe the difference between a field opportunity and one in the national office. Is that possible?
Sure.
Dominic,
I
can you
can
take this one?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you a little bit how my program operates. We're a state-fed cooperative. So we've got people in the Philadelphia regional office, Dallas regional office. We've got about 8 regions. They don't match up specifically with census regions. But for example, I'm an analyst for about 4 states, and I'll rely on the Philadelphia and Atlanta regions to kind of be our liaison between the Fed office, mine, and DC, and like state level folks who help us analyze data and process annual updates and such. So you've got us in a national office working to the program office that actually disseminates the data officially. States have their own news releases as well, and they'll work on different areas. They have some areas that are not published by us, with what we call non-BLS areas. So that's just an example. The regional office, they're BLS. The state offices are not considered BLS. They're part of this cooperative setup. So this is the best example I can give, the one that I'm working within. Again, the regional offices are kind of responsible for the training of the state level folks. We develop a lot of the training. Sometimes we do the training together. But yeah, there's opportunities for BLS in most regions, and not so sure about the states, but again, that would be more of a very localized government work.
Okay, thank you. I tried to post some information in the chat about the job announcements that the Department of Labor currently has open on USA Jobs, but it looks like a bunch of junk just got put in there. I don't think the links actually worked. So again, if you attended the first session, or even if you didn't, contact Katie for a copy of the slides and it'll give you those addresses. Also, we have links from the Department of Labor's website. That information is also in the previous slide deck, and you can go right to our web pages to see what we have available. The good thing about our web pages at the Department of Labor is you can also explore career paths, look at some of the recent news and events. We have press releases that have been issued. Every organization within the Department of Labor has a presence on our dol.gov page. And then there's specific information. Some of the special programs, some of the special recruitment events are also published on there. So with only 2 minutes left in this session, I do want to kick it back over to Terri Thomas to see if you have any closing remarks. And again, thank you for your questions, and definitely keep the Department of Labor in your contacts as one of the potential organizations that you would hope to apply for positions with. It was wonderful meeting with all of you today, even though it was somewhat limited in seeing you and talking with you personally. Terri?
Thank you, Kristen. Just want to reiterate, it's been a pleasure talking to you all, and we look forward to hopefully reviewing your resumes or reviewing your applications when you come in, when you apply. We have opportunities coming up, as Ruben mentioned, in wage hour and in other areas. Just keep your eye on the Labor Department and USA Jobs, and reach out if you have any other questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you so much to everyone that joined us on the panel. We appreciate your experience and hearing a little bit more of the depth of the Department of Labor and what it's like to be a federal employee and the benefits. For those of you who are on the session, I just put my email in the chat if you have any questions, and I will make sure to send you the slides for the first session if you weren't able to make it. So you have those that Kristen mentioned with very helpful information navigating usajobs.gov. So with that, thank you again. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And for those of you in DC and in the snow band coming, stay safe. And we are excited to close out another year of Liberal Arts Career Week with the Department of Labor. Thank you so, so much.